and grassroots uprising of the American people.
All right, here to discuss Larry Cohen, a former chair of the Our Revolution Board, and Raphael Shimonoff, creative director of the Working Families Party. Raphael, first to you. You were key in getting some of those protests launched, or at least filming them, getting the message out from the airports the weekend that the travel ban, the executive order went down. We saw this protest. We saw the Women's March the week before. We've seen a lot of people out on the streets. We've seen people out. The question is, what have you changed at this point?
Well, we're not seeing the normal everyday protester here. We're not seeing who we're used to seeing, who are like civically engaged coming out on the streets as they normally would. We're seeing people we've never seen before. It's truly a popular movement this time.
I covered Occupy Wall Street very closely and spent months reporting on the movement as it evolved, really over a matter of two or 3 years. The criticism of the Occupy movement was to what end, right? What was the net outcome? Certainly got a lot of people talking in that dialogue. So I guess I wonder to you, Larry, to what end this time?
Well, I think there's several ends. So first of all, it is popular resistance. It's people joining in, whether they're in the targeted group or not. Secondly, you see massive demand for change inside the Democratic Party. Our Revolution had hundreds of people at the Democratic Forum on Saturday for Keith Ellison, running as a reform candidate really to change the party itself. The Democratic Party in Washington, where at the county level, people believing in real change got elected in county after county, rural as well as urban. And now the new chair comes from that movement. But at the same time, I think in the streets, you see something very much like Occupy. Millions of people representing the majority of the country who doesn't approve of Donald Trump and his scapegoating and his trying to turn the clock back on every issue from health care to workers' rights.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, the question I was going to ask, and I tried to ask, what have you changed so far to Raphael, Larry, is again, these people are out there, the enthusiasm is clear. But again, Larry, what are you going to implement? To what end? How are you going to hold Democratic office holders accountable? What's at stake for them if they don't respond to you the way you want them to?
Well, I think
resist here. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think when we're talking about Democratic office holders, we're talking about both in the Democratic Party, so that it clearly is a party that speaks to real change, economic, racial, environmental justice, and then secondly, to say to Republicans, is this really the kind of country you want to have? Because electorally, we are very active, whether it's the Working Families Party or Our Revolution. Our goals are largely electoral, and we believe that we'll see early results that indicate that the majority of this country believe in fairness, democracy, and social justice.
So you'll see that, Raphael, at the polls in 2018 for the midterms and in 2020 for the presidential election. A lot of, I should note, what we're seeing in these protests are in really big cities across America where you have generally more liberal demographic. When I travel to small towns across the Rust Belt or in Kentucky, you're Americans and demographics involved in your movement.
We're definitely seeing it. Yesterday alone, we had in Providence, Rhode Island, we had 1,000 people show up and confront their returning electeds. We're using a platform, resisthere.org, where we're organizing people for Resist Trump Tuesdays. And we've had on a phone call on a Sunday, 60,000 people on the phone call ready to organize, ready to come and confront Democrats who we feel need to be encouraged to keep doing good, but always do better and use every tool in their toolbox to resist Trump. And also Republicans. We're taking names. We're going to remember who is giving their name to Trump to allow Trump to push his agenda.
No one likes the word litmus test, Larry, but we don't have much time left, so I'm going to use it here. Do you have litmus tests for Democratic office holders if they, support President Trump's nominees, any of them? Will you work to unseat structure? Would you hold that up as something that would be worthy of trying to run against them in a primary?
Yeah, obviously it depends where it is, and I would just add that we helped win a special election in Iowa, to speak to the point on rural versus urban, just last week. Overwhelmingly won. So I think that litmus test is a strong word, but it's about what are we fighting for? Medicare for all, not Medicare cuts. We see Democrats support Medicare cuts. Yes, we will come after them. We see Democrats supporting these presidential nominees that we see as the 1% of the 1%. Yes, we'll remember their votes. So I think it's more about what are we fighting
for obstructionist sake certainly doesn't help anyone, no matter what party you affiliate with. Larry Cohen, Raphael Shimonov, thank you guys very much. Still to come for us, look at these pictures. We're talking about 200,000 because the tallest dam in the country may not hold. Our Paul Verkaman is there live.
There have been massive evacuations, and as up this dam and its adjoining spillways, that's coming up in just a few moments.
I enlisted in the Army.